Hey, so who we have here? NJ, can you hear me?
Yes, boss, I can. What's up?
I'm good. How you doing now?
Well, thank God. I just got lost track of time.
Oh yeah, it happens. Trust me. How's school been? Rounding up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing more administrative work these days than even the research because,
Really?
uh, yeah, it's just so much paperwork. I just completed like processing a transaction, a fee now for some sample analysis, and that's been the story of my life lately. Mostly doing a lot of paper and administrative work, working with undergrads, getting them, recruiting new ones, training them. Like,
Well,
yeah,
I guess it's still related. It's related to what we are talking about today. So I
yeah.
don't know if you've been able to join any of the uh live for the other days.
One the other day, in the middle of my day, but didn't have enough time to stay long enough.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't
Is
say
it just both of us
you know.
here?
Oh well, I think some other guys are going to join us.
Yeah.
As time goes on. I think
Oh,
I'm expecting Felix
yeah,
for this morning.
yeah. Um, I mean, I just want to say you didn't give enough time for this thing to happen.
We are live already, guy. If you want to scold me,
Oh yeah,
scold me
sorry,
privately.
I didn't know that. That's why I was asking if it's just both of us here.
Oh, we are live already. I'm already streaming. Uh,
Oh, good.
don't
Uh,
worry. It's okay to take public scolding from your mentors sometimes.
scratch that, scratch that. But I'm
So,
trying to know what I look like in the. I can't seem to
oh, you
change the
look. Don't
setting.
worry, you look great. Ella will
I don't
be
think there's enough
impressed.
lighting here.
It's actually looking good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But how comes you're the only one that can see that? Which is strange. Uh, all right. Yeah.
So just to let you know, I think I said this earlier. It's really more of a discussion
Yeah.
and sharing personal experiences. So day one, we've looked at maximizing undergraduate days. That
Yeah.
was really insightful.
Hmm.
Day two, we then looked at what next after undergraduate graduation, talking about translating some of the things you've learned in undergraduate days to putting yourself in a good position even after graduation and then trying
Hmm.
many experiences. And then one of the other topic I think is related to that is what we're going to be talking about today, which is finding the right passion, either between research or industry.
Yeah.
And I think for me, this is one of the major factor for this is really your personality.
Yeah.
Like what turns you I wanted to say what turns you on, but then so that doesn't
Uh,
come out
that's
wrong.
great. Yeah.
What's something that keeps you going? Let me put it that way.
Uh-huh.
But and I think that would really influence your trait also, like your personality. Like, what are things that you find interesting? Does difficult things look exciting to you, or do you just want to do things that you can easily get them done and then be done with it. So for
Yeah.
me, I think that's really what we want to talk about today. And I think, like I said, I think we're still waiting for Felix. But one of the things I would mention, especially after I graduated, was even though I know where I wanted to go, things weren't forthcoming.
Yeah.
I remember the first education USA I applied for,
Hmm.
and my village people were after my network that day during the interview because it was a virtual interview,
Yeah.
and my network was so bad that uh, I couldn't like even go through the interview at all. And then one of the other thing that I also did during the interview that was so sometimes we are actually the architect of our own problems.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things there is because I never graduated with a CGPA that I wanted. I always never felt proud of my CGPA.
But you're a first class student, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, but then it
So
wasn't what I wanted. Like you get that. So it's like you buying a Toyota Camry, but then you always wanted like like a Benz,
yeah.
and then you have that Toyota Camry, but then you're not satisfied with it, thinking it won't take you to where you are going.
Hmm.
And so that was really my disposition with like my first class then, because I actually graduated with a 4.50.
Yeah.
So I felt like, yeah, I was just being lucky, like, and I was not grateful for even being lucky.
Yeah.
uh, and that affected my disposition because one of the questions they asked me during that interview was, "What's your class rank?" And I just answered it shabbily, like, I was just part of the first class. That was what I just said,
Yeah.
and that was so like critical that it affected my opportunity of them even rescheduling with me
So
because
two
they,
things very quickly. Sorry to
yeah.
cut in. Number one, can people do we have live attendants that can ask us questions right away? Number two, can you hear me clearly? Because I just switched to a headphone. I got this in there. I don't know how legible I am when I speak.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can hear you. And then
Clearly.
yeah, we do have live audience, so
Is
you
it
need to.
muffled? Is my voice muffled?
No, it's clear.
Okay, great. All right.
And then we do have live audience that can actually send in questions. So
Yeah.
let me just put in a message for them. Uh,
So if I go on YouTube now, I should be able to see what we're doing too. I mean,
oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, I think I need to. I don't know why this thing is. Well, I'll probably deal with that later.
yeah.
So, like I was saying, and I think that really changed my disposition in how I started to feel about my results because I've never at any point felt bad of my disposition. I've always felt like, oh yeah, my disposition about this thing is right. Until after that interview, and one of my guys like called me and was like, "This is the reason why you failed this interview
Yeah.
because they asked you about your class rank and you were not proud enough to own up to like, hey, okay, I know I didn't do the best, but at least I came out well." Uh,
Hmm.
so that there, I don't know why I'm even saying it, but it was something that I think I was the one that was in quote now stopping myself from moving forward.
Yeah. You were impeding yourself. Yeah.
Yeah,
You were
and
self-impeding.
I think that's to affect the part of like feeling stuck. I feel like I was
Yeah.
one of the factors that was actually like keeping myself down,
Hmm.
thinking, okay, I don't think I'm ready enough, or I don't think I need this, or I have this
Oh
here.
yeah.
And you
No,
see a lot of
it's
people
interesting
to
you
do
say
that.
this. I was just making a video this morning. I mean, I've not posted it anywhere, but I've gotten into the habit of making videos because I could just put myself into the habit of consistency in that regard. And I was thinking about how most of us tell. I mean, I was trying to communicate the idea of how most of us tell our stories in a way that present us as self-loathing. We present our story like as if we're seeking for empathy or pity, and nobody really like to associate with a failure. It's like people like those who can own up to what they have or what they've done, and it's just I guess that relates to what you're saying now.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I think, I mean, I've read a lot of SOPs where I'm like, okay, I know this thing have happened to you, but I don't think that would convince me to give you an admission.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're trying to push empathy right now, but I don't know if this would convince me to give you an admission. And so that we don't, I mean, just maybe digress to to that part of when people try to write something and then they put so much empathy into it that it actually loses the touch of value.
Hmm.
uh I've seen a lot of that also. So for you, I know you've been a man of many clothes over the years. Was there a point where you feel like maybe getting to grad school where you think, am I choosing the right thing? Let me just go and work and be making money somewhere, or do I really want to do research and be? I know you probably still want to work now, but then coming to this point, what has been the feeling like in deciding what next and not feeling stuck?
Oh, so you mean between undergrad and this phase, or this
Yeah,
phase currently where I'm in?
no,
Oh,
between
okay.
undergrad and this phase. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I would say I try to be realistic with my with myself and the opportunities around me. I try to root myself. I try to lean into my strength also, and you know, just be objective and truthful about what is possible. So my answer to that is that, to be honest, by the time I left Nigeria, I saved up over $1 million, and my goal was, uh, I had plan A, plan B, and plan C. And so I'll walk you through plan A. Plan A, I was studying in Anambra. Plan A is like I graduate. I'd already written GRE, done everything. I'll go to graduate school. Plan B was, if that doesn't work out, I've saved enough to start a business. Plan C is, I was staying in Anambra. My sister lives in what's it called, in Delta, just 2 hours drive, and she was willing to take me in. And I was going to do a private tutorial there, where, because she lives in the NPC quarters, and there are a lot of high income citizens there or people there. And I thought like working with the kids there would provide me opportunity where I can get like free accommodation with my sister and also improve my social network. But I guess back to the question of at what point did I decide? Now, I knew I had the ability to do both. And so my story is not like the conventional one of, hey, I this is just what I wanted to do. But I gave myself opportunity to fail just in case things does not work out as I wanted to be. But also I was passion I had some passion, don't forget about, I know there's the jackpot tendency, but there was the personal interest I had in graduate school, which stemmed from my experience volunteering with FAO when I was working in a research lab. And I thought I really enjoyed the environment. At least I thought I did then, but times have changed. I really enjoyed the environment working in a research lab and just thinking about solving new problems and addressing social issues or societal issues rather. And I was intrigued by that because I was volunteering with Food and Agriculture Organization of United Nations, the lab in Kaduna. And I just enjoyed that. And I thought, hey, I'm going to pursue this. And my boss there was like, hey, there's a lot of opportunity if you wanted to do this thing. And plus, I had this dream of being the first person to become a professor, apparently, a dream that I've thrown out on the daughter of this a dream that I like thrown out. But yeah, so I knew I wanted to do that. Industry, there are limited opportunities, to be honest, as far as industry goes in Nigeria. And so my own idea of industry is, and also for the kind of thing I studied, because I studied plant science and biotechnology. And when we say industry in Nigeria, we're not talking about like innovative or creative industry like agtech company you have here. There were just a few. When I was the departmental president, I took the departments to for some excursion like IITA, International Institute of
Yeah.
Agriculture, Ibadan Botanical Garden, and in some places. But to be honest, those places are freaking competitive to get into. And I knew as far as industry goes, maybe something like work at the airport as I looked up opportunities there, but they're not as forthcoming as graduate schools seem to be a much more reliable path to take, a much more assured path, and what's it called? And then running my own business seems to be so that I leverage my strengths on those two things. And I guess something I should like to point out here is that there is a false notion that is imbued in us in Nigeria about your career trajectory. It's almost like they expect you to know what you want to do at every time in life, and that's never the case. It's not always either or. It's also sometimes about like the opportunities that are most realistic to you. So it's
True.
like, hey, if you want to go to industry, if you should know from childhood if you want to be a professor. As we grow, our interest changes, and who we want to be evolve with time because our knowledge base expands, and then the things that we gravitate towards also changes. And so, yeah, I say I like people to give themselves the opportunity to experience other things too, and not just screw yourself
Definitely.
up to either. Yeah,
For me, I was never really a business person, like
yeah,
like just growing up. And the experience I
yeah,
was sharing earlier about my education USA rejection, it
yeah,
happened. consecutively. Okay. So the following year, I actually applied again and screwed myself up again. And uh, that really messed me up so bad that I was like, you know what? I'm done with graduate school journey. I want to go into business.
Yeah.
I met this guy during NYSC. He started a tech company, and I was like, you know what? I'll just work for you. I'm done. I'm tired of grad school applications. So I'm not applying again. I started working with this guy. I was a sales rep. So like we'll go out. We're into like logistics. So we're trying to talk to
Yeah.
all these go-kart guys. And one thing I learned from that process was just to get very used to rejection. Like like
Yeah.
know to move on from situation really quick. That was something I couldn't
Mm.
do. Because I got stuck on my failures, I got stuck on my rejections. But then just having that experience of talking, sometimes you want to talk to someone, they will even abuse you. And then you had to leave them and go
Yeah.
somewhere else. And then still try to talk to another person. And we're also the ones setting targets for ourselves. Like, oh, we want to talk to 50 riders every day. We want to talk to 20 riders every day. We want to recruit 10 at least. And that really, really helped me to build that resilience. Because at this time, I was what? I was just like 20.
Yeah.
So, and that was like my first real exposure to like real world. Like at that time, I would say my brain was still like in an infant stage. Even though
Mhm.
well, I was not exposed to those kind of rigor. Let me put it that way. Like
Yeah.
just mental rigor of like going over and over through things, and I think that helped me to build that resilience of coming back and be like, you know what, this graduate school thing, we are doing it again. Like, either I
Yeah.
get 100 million rejection, I'm doing this thing again.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
this thing again, and the year that I eventually got in, trust me, I was
One
given
thing, sorry, one thing I'm getting from you now is, I think a point which is worth noting is that there are skills are transferred
yeah,
learn in one field or um, one aspect of your life. You can transfer the value of those lessons to another, and you just by facing rejection in recruiting people for your business, or you transfer that skill into facing rejection for graduate
for
school
grad
application.
school,
Yeah,
yeah.
sorry, go on. Yeah,
Yeah, I think for me that was something that really helped me at that stage of my life, because I feel like I probably like most of us are in that category where you've really been doing well so far in life, and then things just start eating you back to back like that. They're just working, and then you're like, okay, I think I need to maybe change myself up. Yeah, uh, similar to Bola too. I never really looked for a job in Nigeria when I finished. I just knew I wanted to go to grad school. That was like my goal. So I was not even looking for a job. But
yeah,
at some point, it now looks like I'm just going to be sitting at home every day. So I eventually had to go pick up a job. And the fun part is I started that job what in February, and I had to leave the job in June because I was leaving the country.
yeah.
So I only worked for like maybe just 4 months
Oh,
on that job.
interesting. Yeah,
So it was a very interesting story for me. Like it was a very interesting experience also for me. And I think one of the main points we brought out here is sometimes you are the one holding yourself back. You're actually the one getting like putting yourself in a box. Because if I had not had the experience of me trying out business or anything, I think I would still have been really struggling mentally in preparing myself for grad school. Uh, and I think that experience really, really changed me. Because it
mhm,
even took me through some rigor of like we could have long hours meetings, we could do. I had to manage people. People were reporting to me, which are still similar things I still get to do now in grad school. You get that kind of a thing to working in a
yeah,
team. So these are things I could easily put on in my CV. Actually, not emphasize on them, but then show that I've worked in a team and I've managed like a team uh, before. And that's something I think. I mean, it might not look like it's related, but I think sincerely, to find the right passion, you need to try many things. Uh, which is, I mean, we're talking about passion today. You need to be able to try things and be like, okay, I think this thing suits me best at this moment, and then it aligns well with my future goals, with my future ambitions. It positions me properly for where I want to be. Now, talking
yeah.
about the fear of choosing the wrong path, Bola, do you think there was any point where you you felt like maybe this part that I'm choosing. You are not in Nigeria household. I guess is a cliche. Every parent want their children to be a doctor.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like it's has there been a point like Bola engineering?
no, no, no. So, there's never a point in my life that I ever sit down to like think if I should make a wrong choice because right since when I was small, kind of person that like repairing things, like try to know curiosity how things work. Yeah, I spoiled some things many times when I was small just to know what is inside and how things work. So from GS2, I already told myself I'm going to study mechanical engineering. So I did actually. So I love vehicles a lot, right? Cars. When I was small, I used to use all my money to buy toys. Like I have a lot of toys of cars, right? So there was one time, some I don't know, some white people came to like Ekiti to like like for road repairs and everything. So there's one particular guy. I think his name is Sunday. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the guy. So I think I was in GS. I think I was GS1 then. And I told him that, oh, like, oh, he's one of the people that was driving the tractor. So he came to our house to ask for water. And I asked him that, okay, fine. That those people, who are those people that are doing this? Or not say that our engineer that, or him is like, he is like a mechanical because he repairs the store. I said, okay, fine, I'm going to do mechanical engineering because I like cars. So since that I already made up my mind, I'm going to like do mechanical engineering. And the choice I made also stood up for me that, okay, I remember when I applied for Yabate that time. So Yabatech, right? They didn't give me admission in the first list. So I did change of course form to like hospitality management. That would have been the greatest issue about my life.
I I can't imagine. I can't imagine Bola being in hospitality management.
So
Me either.
so what was funny was that like I don't even care about mechanical again, I just want to like go to school, just try to change the history of my family. Let me just go to school. So when they released the second list, I just went straight to hospitality management department. I couldn't find my name. See, they don't want to. I don't know. They already giving me admission in mechanical, but I already set my mind there on that. Oh, so and then I now went to the department about. Oh, so I applied. I did change of course for. I said, yeah, yeah, your name. Don't worry, your name will come out in the third list. So I was happy that Okpe was hospitality management. Even though I don't know what I'm going to use the course to do. I don't know the meaning. I don't know any. So what it was so funny that there was one guy that applied to part-time of mechanical engineering. So they gave the guy so the guy saw and we are bearing the same surname. That was the first time in my life I saw someone bearing the same surname and I don't know where the guy came from at all. So the guy now told me that so I now went to like mechanical engineering department just to see what is going on there. So the guy was there. The guy will now say, that this is my surname, but this is not my name. Like, I'll bet that, oh, maybe they made a mistake. That you go and see the department if they made a mistake when they are typing in there. So I was not asking the guy now, make sure Odun okay. This is my surname now. That's like I went to go and share the list and I saw Odun but oh God, don't go and meet department. Oh, this is my own, this is my own name. Oh. The guy say, I say, yeah, my name is Odun. I said, my name is Odun no. Until the later gave the guy admission for part-time that I applied for. So I've never in my life change. The only thing I always ask myself is just that, guy, this PhD you came for, like, do you really want to like do PhD? I think that's one of the things I always think about my life that, oh, do you really want to like do PhD? Because my academic stuff, everybody think I'm going to be a lecturer, but that's there is a pure lie. I'm not going to be a lecturer because when I was in school, I did a lot of tutorials for people. I help people a lot. I love teaching, but bro, now that I'm in the US, bro. I don't like teaching again now. So now that I know that I've already resolved in my mind that okay, I'm not going to academic line again in my life. So I've started thinking that it's PhD for me. Now that's how I'm not thinking that. So I'm not going to be doing farming now like Daniel. Maybe Daniel will just give me one land in Indianapolis. I'll just be doing advanced mechanic farming. So I did that, yeah. But when it comes to like career choice, when it comes to like department, I've never in my life blame myself or rethink if I choose what is right or if I choose because I already choose what I'm going to do when I was in GS2. Yeah, I can remember that vividly,
So
100%.
so let us address this issue. What about people that, for example, like you said, what if you had ended up studying hospitality management? Because we have scenario where we
I can't
they
even
were
imagine that.
but I'm saying we should address it. We've had scenario. So for example, let me use myself as an example. I was applying for medicine and I
Mhm,
never got medicine.
mhm.
I did a lot of pursuit TME then in Nigeria, never got any. Then I had to go to FUTA to go do physiology with the hope that FUTA was going to create a medical school and then they would transfer all the best students to the medical school to start the medical school, which never happened until I graduated. So now I'm doing physiology. And I mean, physiology, I think I enjoy doing physiology more than I would have enjoyed doing medicine, personally. Uh, but there are other guys, like, for example, that ended up in maybe energy is yes. I don't want to shade any agri courses. I was going to say maybe
No,
someone ended
see,
so
so
maybe someone ended up with forestry. Instead, like they applied
yeah.
for engineering, but then ended up in forestry. And that kind of person is now struggling to find their feet or what to use
So
with what they
like
have.
I think I think the best thing I can say in that scenario is just that. Yeah, one thing I can say that scenario is just that always find the best out of everything you find yourself, right? Do you get the point? I think that's one of the things I can say. So if you apply for mechanical engineering and you find yourself in forestry, you need to ask yourself if in the long run, if you really have passion in forestry. Then if you don't have passion in forestry, right, you can use forestry to get the BS to be educated. Because I always tell people sometimes, right, school, school, one of the most important thing why we have education is not for us to force us to do one thing by fire by force. It's just for you to like make us to be educated, to be able to like have critical thinking, system, problem solving skills, to be able to read and write. So if you can get all these things in forestry, yeah, you can choose to redirect your path after if you know that really you have zero passion in this forestry, even though you are doing it, but you know within yourself you have zero passion for it. To be honest, I would advise you when you are done with the forestry, they ask yourself, what is the thing I have passion for now? I have passion for I've seen a lot of friends. I have one friend, Adela Kuntemilade. I respect that girl a lot. Well, she graduated with the first class in my class, but she has nothing to do with engineering again now. Yeah, we already know the way she's doing her life when we were in school in UI that this one will not do mechanic. And when she does student well, I'm not doing mechanical again. And she totally changed to like data science or like finance or something like that. Before we know, she got to work with Google. Before we know, I think she's currently doing her MBA in the US now. She left mechanical engineering totally. So, like kind of person now, engineering is not a passion, even though that's what she got. Like you said, our parents, especially if you are very good in mathematics when you were in secondary
Mhm.
school, they will
Your career is already
automatically or biology,
written.
they will automatically push you to medicine or engineering. But yeah, so they will okay. I'm not mentioning. I don't know if you have UI student online, so I'm not mentioning the name of the person. So there's one when I was referring level in UI, there was one that was my fault. I was the academic coordinator, right, in my department. So I don't know. A lecturer called me. Then the subdean of the faculty called me that I need to talk to a father of a student in my department. I said, okay, no problem. The father is also a professor, to be honest, in that same school, but same department. This guy is doing so poorly. Like he has a very bad result. Like, it's very bad now. It's son of a professor for that matter. And your when you release the result, your child is always like the top 90%, top 10% from the bottom. Then I said, okay, if I'm going to talk to the boy, I called the boy, okay, come, what's the problem? I think the boy was in 20 level, 20 level, that what was the problem? You know, told me that I won't really want to do mathematics. That's what I told them at do. But because they assume that he's very good in mathematics, they push him to mechanical. At least, yeah. But the guy told me that I want to do mathematics, that's his passion. What you want to be in the department of mathematics. But trust me, bro,
But,
Christian, if you get this guy mathematics score
yeah.
in courses, he always had A. But all those mechanical ones like Tamo, you surely have D. Yeah. So I just said, okay, fine. Automatically you can't switch department again. You're already mechanical internal level. So that's fine now. Just try your best. Even do just try your best to make your parent proud. by giving you
But
money to
do you
school.
know what? I actually have a friend who
Then after
switched.
that, when you are done, choose your passion by going to maybe by crossing to data, maybe mathematics is your master's or
Bola.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually have a friend who switched after he had gotten to like 300 level. And he just felt like, I don't think this course is for me. And then went back, did jump, to start. And this guy changed from, I think, computer science. And he went to remote sensing and geography or something like that. And he said that's really what he wants to study. And that's where he wants to be in. So I don't, I think I've learned that it's never too late to try your
Sorry,
hand in
can I chip
something.
something in here?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna
definitely.
talk a little on the whole concept of passion, but to begin, one of the things I think most people limit themselves in is they they think about their course as a unidimensional field. It's almost like you feel like you are in a vault, like you are. It's like a laser, and I'm studying physics now, and physics is just about calculation
Yeah,
and quantum, and people fail to see how what they're doing relate with can be interwoven with many other or different dimensional aspect of life. I mean, as it stands now, I am, if you ask me what lab I'm in, I'll tell you plant biology. But to be honest, more than half the guys in my lab here, somebody like one of the postdoc here, it has a PhD in physics. The other one has a
PhD in
PhD in
physics.
yeah, has a
Really?
master's in civil engineering, and this is
And then
because
your lab.
oh yeah, because science has become so
That's very
interdisciplinary,
interesting.
so so interdisciplinary, and like I am here, what I'm doing is like I am on trying to explore like plant physiology, but really what I'm applying my skills at, what really drives me is global food security. So I am not just doing the science of plant biology, but also I have footing in the field asking people or discussing with people how do what I do now, how does climate change impact the food, global food security? How does climate change impact the quality of life? Because I also enjoy the social aspect. Now, that is actually why I chose this program. Just like Bola, who we just mentioned, it's like when I was in GSS3 going to SS1, I wanted to be an editor or sorry, I wanted to study mass comm, like be a radio host or something like that. Those are the things that really drove me. I listened to the radio almost all the time, and I knew like almost all the voices on the radio on air. 90.1 FM Kaduna, I was like on it 247.
FM
And
Kaduna.
yeah, and then I took my certificates. And before you go to SS1, they give you this form to fill and then to decide whether you're going to science or arts. That's how it's decided where I come from. And I took it home. Most people are just feeling it in school and submitting it, but I felt like I wanted to be a good boy and I took it home to my dad. My dad's like, yeah, I don't know what you'll be doing with mass comm or mass media, so we don't have anybody in the sciences at home. To be honest, that's how I ended up in sciences. It's like there was no, it's not, there's nothing intentional about it. I ended up that way. Number two is when I finished and I wanted to go to university, what I eventually decided to study was biological sciences because I was interested in, like in ecosystem processes, in life generally, like just wild organismal biology. Those are kind of things that interested me. And then I ended up in botany. And then eventually the department was reformed to plant science and biotechnology. But even while I was there, I started to ask myself again, what really about this now? I mean, what can I do? How can I use what I currently have to address the other issues that interest me? And
Yeah.
so from there, I started getting involved in or with NGOs that are looking into food security issues because those kind of things interest me. From then also, started getting involved with research and the rest. And so the point I'm driving at is that just like Bola pointed out, I don't feel like you have to deny yourself the pleasure because if you're going through an experience now and you're just forcing yourself to accomplish it because you're trying to appease somebody else, then it lacks meaning to you and you in a way you're writing yourself off. So the question, is with what you have now, what can you do? What else can you do with it? That's number one. Number two is the whole idea of passion. I feel like two things needs to happen. Number one, when people say, go after your passion, go after this or that, usually the more you know about something and the more you feel like you can contribute towards a field, the more passionate you are about that thing. So, you know, there's a whole concept that if you're passionate about something, you have the skill to do it naturally. But it goes the other way, that the more you develop a skill around the field, then the more passionate you are about it. So I guess it ties back to the point that like, what do you want to do? Do you want to go to the industry? Do you want to go into academia? Again, my arguments will be that you give yourself the exposure to experience both and try to do due diligence in acquiring the necessary skill that elevates you from being from just from the basic level to at least to the beyond the average level. If you are above the average level in the field and you still abhor the field, then you know, well, this is not for me. This is,
Yeah.
I have a lot of people who have done like data science and data science is interesting, exciting, and people start coding and they know how to code, they get the skills and they realize, no, this thing is so damn boring. I'm not doing this
And
thing.
the issue, I think you mentioned some things that are very important. One, like not looking at your course or whatever you're doing now in a very narrow mindset.
Yeah.
And then second thing is if you do something that you're above average and you still don't find your interest, then maybe it's time to try something new.
See,
And
Yeah.
one thing that people,
one thing that's very, very important is that, like Energy said, right? I
yeah,
think the biggest mistake you can make in your life, right, is that, like what Energy said, just that, oh, because I'm doing this, then I must become this, or this is only thing I can do. Is totally wrong, right? Do you get it? Totally wrong. So, like I said, I have background in mechanical engineering, in my hand dimension, in my BSc and everything. But now I'm working on that civil, and I'm working, even if you check civil engineering, very if you say civil engineering and all that, my data is with them, not even material science, right? I transit because I told myself one day, that, okay, fine. I'm tired of mechanical. I think I've done this thing for long. I'm just tired of doing it again. PhD, even though I got PhD admission in it, I choose not to go, to be honest. I said, let me go and even do something different. Let me even see how my ability will be in another field. Do you get the point now? So if I'm tired of civil engineering today and environment engineering today, I can go online and go and learn data analysis and do some things in tech. And even with my PhD, I will be looking for a job in tech. So the most important thing is just that, like you said, the first reason why we are in school, and that's what someone told me one day, that the first reason why you are in school is not to like get job in mechanical. It's just to learn skills that's going to make you a better person compared to that didn't go to school. Then what you do with the skills now led for your passion, what you want to do with your life. Do you get the point? So that's what I'm going to see. So if you
yeah,
find yourself in what you didn't really apply for, I've seen someone that said, "Oh, I want to like do this course. I didn't get the course. I found myself in this course, but later in my life, I enjoyed the course more, even more than what I think I was applying for before." So it's very important. That's one of the things I'm going to like say about it. I know some people they create one particular resistance or stagnation around their life just because they just focus on one thing. Is either I get this thing or I die, you know?
yeah. I think what I was trying to actually point out from Energy's point is it does not take much to be above average in any field actually.
Yeah, yeah,
People think it's a lot of work, but it's not actually a lot of work to become above average in most fields. Because so if you look at the world population as 7 billion, because that's like the people you are going to compete against in any field. If you can know at least 20-30% of a niche area, you're like already above average.
Mhm.
That's literally like what the statistics is online. Like if you can know at least 20%, 30% more than a regular person, you're already above average. And that can inform you enough to decide whether this thing is meant for you or not meant for you. Uh, so I know we've not had time to introduce ourselves, and we kind of do it casually on the show. As it comes to you, you introduce yourself. As it comes to us, we just do it. There's no official introduction around it. So I'll start again for all our viewers online. My name is Christian, also known as Ara Kurindare, and I'm a PhD student at University of North Dakota, studying epigenetics. So I'm going to pass the mic to the newest speaker for today, which is Energy. Energy is the
Oh,
newest speaker.
so Bola has
Yeah,
been here before.
yeah, but I was
Exclusive.
here yesterday.
Yeah. No, I am Daniel Ineji Sani. I prefer to go by Ineji just because I like to annoy my white friend and make it difficult for them to call my names. I a third year PhD student in University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. and I study plant biology. You know, my interest cuts a lot across a lot of things. So I guess the word plant biology does not do me justice when I describe myself because really I do very little about like plant directly. Uh, but yeah, I'm enjoying this so far. So I
I
guess I
mean,
can
it's
begin.
it's from the north.
Yeah, I am from. No, that's not, completely. I grew up in Kaduna, Sokoto, but
Yeah, from the
usually from
north.
yeah, it's not,
Don't
yeah.
don't explain. Yeah, from the
Okay,
north.
I'm from the north.
Okay, Michael and then Bola would.
Okay, yeah, my
Yeah,
name is
send
Bala.
the mic to Mike. Oh, go
My
ahead, go ahead, Mr. Bola.
okay, yeah, my name is Bola Payos. I'm doing my PhD in materials engineering at University of Colorado Boulder, US. Yeah, to be precise. Yeah. What again?
That's all about
I
you.
I have dual states. That's a
He,
problem. I'm from
he's the
Ogun and Ekiti. Between both of them. Yeah.
he's the leader of ASF. Maybe we'll do another live on ASF to talk about ASF more. Uh, and then Michael.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Bola, Mr. Daniel. It's nice to meet you, Mr. Daniel.
Ah,
And yeah, my name is Michael I Adinawola. I'm a physiology PhD student at the University of Mississippi Medical Center. I think this will be the first time I will mention my research. Well, yeah, I I work on I study the impact of extreme environmental conditions like heat and humidity on cardiovascular health. So yeah, am I
Okay, you
enjoying
and I
it?
have something in
Yeah.
common again because I designed an experiment to study those aspects, those environmental aspect on plant physiology. So it's interesting. We're doing the same thing, but you are working on plants and I'm working on animal, working on plant. Yeah.
Oh, great.
I just think
That's,
that's interesting. Yeah.
that's, and it's
okay.
nice to be here again.
Yeah, I don't know if do you have anything to say? I think we all have contributed aside from you and the first point, which is being on the wrong path or feeling stuck or things that you think happened. And then I think I want us to transition into expectations and opportunities in academia and industry. I know we are like mostly in academia now, but then we can maybe look at it from that angle actually, then compared to industry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'll probably maybe be able to speak a little bit more about the first point even than the second one because I'm still in the I
Yeah.
haven't decided myself, right? But yeah. But on the first point, and the speakers that spoke earlier have spoken well. And for me, what I'll tell people is to start, right? You don't know this, you don't know that, whatever you find your hands doing right now, right? That thing that everybody have like thoughts, ambitions, what they are into right now, just start something, right? You can't know, you don't know, you can't know anything if you don't start at all. Okay, so there's a saying that the journey of 1,000 years, starts with a point, with a step. And trust me, many people start somewhere. They don't usually end, in that area. You start with maybe research, whatever. You grow as you grow in both age, knowledge, experience, and you are able to make better choices as long as you are growing, right? But the most important thing is to start wherever you are, right? So the point of making wrong choices, yes, it's definitely people make human beings make that's why that's what makes us human. So you make some wrong choices, but with knowledge, you might be able to make better choices. So when you make some wrong choices, you also have the intellect or the knowledge to sort of mitigate the effects, right? As long as you are doing whatever you are doing, and then you are trying to accumulate knowledge in that area. And as you grow, like I said, it will get clearer, right? It will get clearer as you go, and then you would know where exactly you would fit into, right? So and that's what matters for most people, the fear of starting, right? And I would say it's good to start early so that when you start making your wrong choices, you would still have the energy to correct
Yeah.
yourself and go into anywhere you want to go into. But it's difficult to start, to take that step to start. So when you start, you grow with time, and that fear of starting is usually what ties people up. But I would encourage you to that thought that you have, right? Start building, the right knowledge and the right network in that trajectory. And I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, talking about fear to start. Sincerely, I'm someone that I'm not too much of a risk taker myself. So I always like get cold feet when it comes to like starting something new. And I think one thing that does help to I say maybe overcome that is to see people that are really, really close to you do those things. And then that really trigger like an inner confidence in like, okay, this thing because sometimes we tend to maybe blow things up in our head, even though you've not really tried them out, and then they look so like they look unachievable, bigger than you. It's just like the way you see one fine guy and be like, no, I can't talk to this person. She's like in another league. But then you can actually talk to that person because you might end up seeing the person's boyfriend and you're like, I'm even bigger than this guy. that
You didn't have to use that example.
I think that's like the best feeling for like maybe from a guy perspective that I could
Yeah,
relate to
I
like maybe
totally understand.
starting something and you're like, why didn't I try?
Yeah.
And I think that relates to one of the points I mentioned earlier that sometimes we're actually the one keeping ourselves from going to the next. It's not like it's just like this false perception of that you're being stuck. So, for example, I think there used to be this analogy, psychological analogy of that. If you chain a dog and you kept like it was always on a leash, and then there's a day you remove that leash, but the dog still have that subconscious uh, mind that the leash is still on him, so he doesn't want to move around. And
Let me give you
some
one of these. Okay, go ahead. Finish
yeah,
up.
so for me, I think that's really what I think about sometimes, and I think maybe coming from an African perspective or being a Nigerian, I think the environment play a factor in making people look like they're under a leash of really going beyond their immediate environment.
So I wanted to give you an example, like one of the latest example I had, because this happens to everyone. So I'm not saying it happens like we all experience on different stages, right? So there are things that I would do right now. Someone will see it as a big step. Oh, you're very bold. But there are things that I also trying not to do because I feel they're too big for me. So recently I was trying to apply for, or my PI encouraged me to apply for some awards. So I was trying to tell him these awards are for big guys. Like I just started my research. Oh God. Like I won't stand a chance. And I was telling me, no, try, right? Just try. Like you can see the criteria listed. You can do all of these things. So just prove your point. Try. I've tried before, but I'm on a stage now where it's the award is a little bit big.
Yeah,
Applying to grad school like was about trying, right?
trying. Yeah,
Yeah.
I applied to a department where like the biggest guys in my field worked, but I wouldn't think like 10 years ago I wouldn't think I would do such a thing, right? So it's in stages, right? So everybody has these fears depending on what they are trying to get. So it was like, do you know that it's possible that the big guys you think would get it wouldn't apply, and they have to give these awards out. So if you don't apply, you're already out. So you don't even stand a chance of competing. Do you understand? So start, try,
yeah. I think
give it a
Yeah.
chance.
what you said makes so much sense because sometimes uh sincerely all we need to do is just to apply.
Yeah.
and
I
and that make like that's so funny because a friend of mine called me like a couple weeks ago and was like, guy, I just got an internship with like a multinational. This is like a really big company that and we are all dreaming to go to. And we were talking and this guy was like, I was like, guy, you go work on my CV and all this. And the guy was like, this is the same CV all of them are rejected from last year. That I didn't do anything different. And so sometimes you don't really need to do anything different. You just need to put yourself out there. Sincerely, you don't really need to do anything. You wanted to say something, AJ?
yeah, I just want to add now, I mean, I think you're taking a different dimension, but
No,
just
you can take us back. Don't worry.
yeah, to take it piggyback to what he said earlier about I had written it in my journal this morning, just made a note of it, is give yourself the opportunity to fail. Like, like that is what I tell myself. Give yourself the opportunity to fail because That is how you learn. And I mean, I have to remind myself that not because I enjoy failing or that I think anybody I know enjoy failing, but because that is like one of the greatest fear that holds us back from even attempting at all. So what I do is right now the philosophy I've applied, or I try to live by as far as attempting a new adventure it goes is and I've actually I did this when I was applying for grad school. When the first year I actually applied, I knew I wasn't up to the task. Like I just knew, but I wanted myself to have that feeling of sitting down and being interviewed on an interview setting with international professor. It was a big deal in my head. They're like, oh, now this professor is like, I barely know anything about these guys that wrote the textbooks we're reading, and now I would be sitting down with them and chatting and having discussion. I remember, the first time Professor Lisa Ainsworth, she got her National Academy of Science Award 2019 or so, and she and I was chatting in 2020. But that feeling of knowing, I mean, I didn't get in that time, but just I feel, but what I told myself was I was just gonna give myself the feeling of being among, of knowing, of learning the ropes, of not trying to put too much stumbling block. Like I just want to be the person who did not have to learn everything before they started, but learn as they went along, and whatever I have to adapt to. And then subsequently, and sometimes I have done that and I've succeeded on the first try. And then second, most times though, it's like I just acquired the experience. But the truth is, by the second time I was applying to grad school, I had no doubt because it's like being there, it's done that, although I didn't conquer, but I've seen everything already. And then going back the second time, I knew, oh, I had experience. Yeah, so I think one thing you can tell yourself when you're deciding to choose a career also or figure out which path to take is give yourself the opportunity to feel like, oh, what if I try this and fail? But actually, let me even just try it and learn from it. And I think that's a valuable experience to get.
Oh yeah, I mean that point there. I feel like you guys are talking to me now, because I mean trying new things. Trust me, it's difficult. And then there's that part of you that is like, let me just stick to things I know, and I mean maybe just stick on them. But there's no growth in sticking to something you know. Growth actually come by dropping things
Yeah,
off and
yeah.
picking up new things.
Just to add a little to that is this is different from reckless abandonment or reckless risk. It's like you don't just throw
Yeah, yeah,
yourself,
yeah.
you find something, you don't just like, oh, because I want to fail, then you don't put in the effort, or you go take the foolish risk of throwing in all the resources you've got because you just want to fail. It's like, hey, there is a possibility that I'll fail because I don't have what it takes, but and I wouldn't let that crush me because what I'm trying to do now is just learn. Yeah,
Uh,
but that does not mean just being reckless or not.
don't go and waste your money.
Yeah.
So I know, like I said, I think most of us we are in academia, so I think we'll start from that. What do you think is the expectation being in the academic space? I know we are in the academics as students, so maybe we can talk from that angle of like, what do you think is the expectation
How do you
for
mean
being
expectation?
expectation? What do you think is expected of you as a student? Maybe from your PI. We can just talk about that. From at least from a start, comparing that to, let's say you were working in the industry right now, what do you think would be the expectation from you generally, personally, or and also from like work?
Hmm.
If you understand me. Michael, do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Maybe
I
I
think
need
I
to, maybe you can help me clarify it, but that's the way I'm thinking about it.
okay. So this is it in speaking to fellow grad students or people that are looking to get into the academia?
People that are looking to get into a
Get
grad
to that.
student, like to become grad student, I think that
Oh,
would be
okay.
the way to talk about it.
Okay. So I think in the academia, like as grad students, there are like two components of it. Especially in the US where you have to take courses. So courses, like courses you have to pass, right? And also the research component of it. And there's a saying in the academia that you either publish or perish. So trust me, your professors are also looking at, trying to get, their resources out to get funding, right? So if you don't publish, if you don't have data, you can't get funding. And it's this same funding that they're using to pay your stipends and maybe your school fees, depending on the or your tuition, depending on the school that you are in. So, like I said, there are two components of it: the academics and your courses, and also being productive in the lab, right? So, the expectation maybe from the grad school will be the academics. For my school, right? Your grades the most important thing. If you go below C, you are going back to your fatherland. As that, I think no. If you go below B, you are going back to but for Americans, like for citizens, C. But you lose your scholarship if you go below B, right? And in my department, there are courses where if you don't have an A, you're out of the program. So it's that strict for some programs, right? But for some other programs, it's generally maybe C because C is the benchmark here, right? Once you go below 70,
See is the place where they say, okay, Oti, you don't do.
once you go below 70, so you have to be ready to pass. I'm speaking to Nigerians that are trying to leave Nigeria for the sake of leaving Nigeria. Try to apply to schools that I mean, look at the curriculum of the program you're applying to.
Mm,
And don't because okay, I want to
I
get out
just
by
want
all
to
means.
live. Yeah.
You enter biostatistics and you do not like, you are not ready for the rigor, or you don't like statistics and things like that. You already know. It's a different thing if okay, I don't really I don't really like this, but I have the capacity to work on myself to get this done. But for some other people, they don't like, those kind of things. There are things they like. So go for it. Don't think you get here and you would be able to just do the barest minimum and then fly. That's not how it works. You have to put in the work, right? So it will be easier for you if you go for something you're actually interested in. So even if your motive is, maybe to leave the country and contribute to knowledge, we know we're talking about like contributing knowledge abroad, contribute scientific knowledge. So passing your courses will be one. And if you want to go continue in the academia, like getting a postdoctoral position to be a postdoctoral fellow, right? Your grades will be looked at
I
kind
think
of.
that
So you
there's
need to have a track record of excellence to
yeah,
get certain positions, even after you graduate. And
Michael.
let me just
That
conclude the other part.
no,
Oh, go
before you
ahead.
conclude on that part, there's something you mentioned that I think I always emphasize to people when people come like grad school is not beans. Like, don't think you're coming into like to have what
Like, yes.
yeah like
Yeah.
and I try to prepare people's mind to it. Like, don't do it out of the, like you mentioned, out of the goal of I just want to leave Nigeria. That might be, I mean, obviously that's like an underlying factor, but put
If you
that
are
also,
funded, you can't. I mean, if it's your money, it's easier. You can
even if
fail
it's
if it's
your
your
money,
money.
you can't fail.
You pay tuition next semester. They are all for that. But if it's on if it's on NIH funding, trust me, you are out of the system if you are not doing well.
So so that you know what the second point you mentioned was on research, right? I think
Yeah,
I'm
so yeah,
I'm
the
going to
second
I'm going to
component is
I'm going to let energy talk on that. So that
okay, it's
yeah,
research.
because uh and please, we are going to address a couple questions, so you can send in your questions. When I said it earlier, but just to repeat it again, please send in your questions.
Oh, wow. I think if he's already going to talk about research, maybe he should go on and I can chip
No,
in because, you know, but let me talk a little about the academia, I mean, the
okay,
classes.
maybe we should not address academia, then we go
Yeah.
to research because these are like the two major
Um,
components. Yeah.
just the classes part of it is, I tell people, to be honest, if you look up, just browse it online and ask yourself, like, as far as learning goes, what is one of the most difficult things you can do with your life? And they'll tell you it's PhD. And so, yeah, I mean, it's true. I tell people that type of speech, like everybody knows that. It's one of the most miserable time of your life because sometimes even if you know it, you in the middle of it, you lose the interest, you lose touch. Let's not ever go there, but it's tough. So brace your mind for it and know that there's a lot that is expected. He mentioned biostatistics. That almost took the life out of me. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Not only you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, this is speaking from somebody who graduated as the best graduate student in the faculty. So just so you know, that wasn't so much fun. Eventually, I got an A, but it took a lot of commitment to pass through that class. So
Let
just
them know an A is a 90.
yeah, an A is a 90 something. It's not
No,
70.
A is 94 in my school, not
Yeah,
90.
so it's not 70. Just remember that also. I mean, it's not like all of us here. I'm sure we've gotten most of our grades to be A, so it's doable. It's doable, but it's a lot of work and commitment. Yeah, so I'll just keep quiet now and allow him to continue with the research side.
Let Mr. Bola contribute on academics. I
Bola, now
mean,
you win
courses,
now. There's
courses.
nothing he wants to say.
What do you want me to say about academia? I don't understand.
Bola is on 4.0. That's why he's not saying anything.
I'm done with coursework since. So I'm not doing coursework again in my life.
That feeling when you're not doing coursework, trust me, it's a great feeling.
Yeah.
I should join you maybe next semester. Yeah, on research,
Yeah.
on research, yeah, it's also, important, nobody will force you really when you're maybe in your first year, but, as you grow, second year, third year, trust me, there are requirements, depending on your PI, right? Some people are subtle, right? So if you have the opportunity to choose a PI, usually international students don't really have, you don't really have the I mean, you'll be given, but at the same time, there are two ways to get into, graduate, either directly through a professor, some do general application. So my school does general application. Then when you come in, you do lab rotations, and then you can choose your PI. So in that case, you are able to look at their character, the lab environment, and things like that. But if you are going to choose the PI, if the PI is going to bring you in that case, then you do not have the choice of, okay, is this man a good person, apart from being brilliant or, being productive or things like that. So that's also a big component of, research, the behavior of a peer, how he reacts to you, how he manages the lab. Some people micromanage, some people just allow you to do your stuff, some people use your ideas, some people don't. So, yes, there are things that are expected of you. The lab environment is a work environment. You'll be relating with different people, lab manager, other students. There's also some subtle hierarchy, a little bit of politics too, with collaborators and other PIs, right? So these are things you have to manage, and also manage with your courses or without your courses. And but the ultimate thing is to be productive, learn the techniques, and also and contribute to data to publish, because publications, have to go out for you to
Those
retain.
are the currency. That's the
that's
currency
the,
of
that's the
that's the currency of
currency, right?
academia.
So
But
but
there's
the
something
major
you
thing is
mentioned,
to be
Michael.
productive, right?
Yeah, there's something you mentioned actually that I think we probably raised it earlier before you joined, is actually there are skills that you have that are easily transferable, and sometimes we don't see it. Now, something happened in my lab, I think earlier this year. My supervisor is she's not timid, but she doesn't like confrontation with people. Me, on the other hand, I don't shy of confrontation. Like, if you bringing it out, it's always on ground. So anytime there's like an issue
It's
where,
plenty.
yeah, anytime there's like an issue where you have to like send an email that, all this kind of, you have to politically polish the email to let the person know
Sound
that, yeah,
politically correct.
to sound politically correct, my PI will just say, Christian, send that email, just copy me. And that's because there've been a lot of issues that happened that she saw the way I responded. And she was like, there was a day she called me, like, you did politics, right? Like, the email I just said, that email, even though the email passed the right message that, hey, don't try this with us again, it still didn't sound that way. And she was so impressed that anytime there's like an issue, my supervisor is just going to be like, Christian, do you want to send that email on my behalf? Just copy me. Just copy me. Tell them you're sending it for the lab. And that's like become a culture in the lab now that my PR doesn't necessarily send emails to people. Just know we are going to copy her. Like, we are the one coming for you. And my lab manager is also like that. So most times when she wants to get things done, or some people are like just being annoying, she's just going to be like, Christian or this person, send email, just copy me. So, and I've never really appreciated that skill until it became something that my boss needed like me to keep doing, just because she couldn't do it. And that's to say, like, making yourself useful even like goes beyond you working in like maybe
Yeah,
just
what you
in
need goes
research.
beyond your technical skills. You
Yeah,
also need like behavioral and things like
yeah, like it like that skill is so important to her that, trust me, it comes in handy. And if you, like you mentioned, there's politics in this whole university system and everything, so it really really comes in handy when it comes to reaching out or talking to people or getting things done, setting up meetings and stuff like that. It really really comes in. And when you mentioned, I just remember that like scenario
Let
in
me
my
share my
head.
experience before we go to Mr. Bola or Mr. Daniel. So I wrote a review recently, and publishers, reviewers, the way they used to respond to this thing.
Yeah.
When I got the reviews, of course, my PI sent it to me. I responded to those reviews. My PI saw the response. It was like, Michael, you will provoke the reviewer. They will reject the paper. They will reject this paper because guy, I can't be begging you to grow. But I mean, he understands because I'm new in the game, but he understands how you polish
Yeah.
your answers such that the reviewer will look at, okay, yeah, oh yeah, accepted, accepted. But if you want to get the work done, those are things you need to learn,
Yeah.
as you go on in the academia, right? So, but I didn't see a reason why I should be polishing my English, be begging you,
Oh
because
yeah.
if you
Guy.
ask me a question, I'm going to answer you. Like, this is why I did this, and this is why I need to do it, and that's why I need you to understand that I need to get this paper out. So, right? But it was like, no, no, no. You have to, tell them, we have done this, we have done that. Yeah,
I, I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah.
I think to relate to what you're saying, there's something I also tell like my fellow grad student here is always understand power dynamics. When you are in a position, understand your position in power hierarchy. Where do you fall when it comes to decision making? I like in every scenario there's a position where you take in decision making. It's either you have more influence or you have less influence compared to the other players in that decision. In most cases, for example, when you're doing rotation, trust me, you don't have any power at that point. That PI is like the lord over you. Imagine that it was that moment you decided to be doing anyhow. Same thing goes for like maybe you're interviewing to schools or you're submitting essays. You have to come with your best because at that point you don't even have any power. But the moment you're like a fourth year student in a lab, trust me, you are now principalities and power. Just make sure you're not rulers of darkness at that point. But
Depending on who your boss is, so that's
yeah,
also factor that in.
but you already have a ground to a level compared to a first year student that is coming into that lab. Like
Absolutely.
it's a different dynamics. Then you can't compare yourself to like your postdoc or your lab manager that's been running the lab for 20 something years. So that really that's something I always put my like I always look at the power dynamics anytime I'm in a place that okay, is this a place where I need to come up with my best behavior or this is a place where I can relax a little and be fine. And that
Make I not
helps
pass you
you.
there too, sha.
And that really helps me to like okay navigate like my relationship with people very well because if you know someone has more power than you then you don't want to be on their negative side. For example, let's say you are the one that is always pissing off your lab manager, just know that your reagents will not come on time. So those kind of things like it also applies to industry too, like it's not just in research, even in industry you have a supervisor you're working with, you have people that have more years of people than you don't want to
Absolutely.
piss them off and stuff like that. I'm sure energy to have probably experienced something similar. So energy, give us your thoughts. You are muted. You are muted.
We take like on what specifically now? On
On
my
what? On I
relating.
mean experiences you've had like in terms of research and what do you think? Or is the expectation different for you? Like maybe
Well, no, I
listening to
mean,
right
I
now.
think it's pretty much the same thing. He captures it just adequately. Finally, there. Initially, there's not a lot you expected to do. They go low key, but so I think it will also depend on the kind of person you are. Like I'm a self-driven person. And like I have goals and expectations for myself. And so maybe that kind of make the burden less on my boss because I'm the one always pushing like review this article for me, review this write-up I've done, review this. But one thing somebody told me, Toyo Sijato, my mentor now who's in Bayer, when I first came here, it's like, yeah, at first you like Daniel pointed out just now, at first initially it would seem like, there is not a lot of burden on your shoulder, not a lot of expectation, but over time, you you suddenly begin to realize that subtly they start to demand for things from you. And your boss could be straightforward. I have like my friend who was doing her PhD in vet med, and it's like it's so clear cut. Give me data or you have no value in my lab. While other labs, like my lab, I just can generate data out of the blue moon. I mean, I tried it in my first and second year where I worked on meta-analysis, but other than that, I need field work. I need to go out in the field, and that's only in the summer to generate data. And and so I guess what I'm going with this is it will depend on the kind of work you do, how prompt they will need you to come up with data. But generally speaking, the way to go about like the whole point of your PhD, or at least for me, also the whole reason why we're employed or hired is to be able to conduct this experiment to generate the data that answers certain questions. And once you're not doing that, your value as a graduate student is neatly tied to that goal or that outcome. And once you're not meeting, it's like, okay, then what purpose are you serving here? As far as social interaction in the lab goes, working with people, you've got to be really political. Yeah, talking about pissing somebody off. I once pissed somebody off, and then for like 3 months, I didn't have a vehicle because we walk out in the field. So, and for 3 months, I mean, maybe until I didn't have a vehicle, I was banned from using a vehicle. I mean, I know how it all happened. I don't want to go into the details.
Don't tell, don't tell us.
There's somebody else somewhere. Yeah, this is an office space. There's somebody else somewhere, and it's so happening, but thank God my lab eventually got a vehicle, and so a lot of diplomacy come and social intelligence of relating with people and understanding what asked them and how you can best position yourself to take advantage. And eventually, I think the more you try to understand the social dynamics of the environment you find yourself. Generally speaking, I think the more successful you'll be because then you know who to align. It's all political, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So align yourself with better. That's the advantage of being having experience in the lab. When you need something, you know who to talk to. You know the kind of things people like to hear. And it's so strange because you think this kind of thing does not exist in a cut and dry, objective field like sciences, where research and numbers is all we do. But people ears are still attuned to sweet words or to praises or to compliment.
Definitely.
And all of these things kind of, yeah. So I would say, apart from being the rigorous, detail-oriented scientists or research scientists, the expectation is that part of the skill you develop here is networking skill. That's of relating with people, of trying to build relationships to build your career. And yeah, like with me these days, to be honest, I've become lazy because since I have understood the magic of mentors, it just take off the burden of my chest. Like anything I do now, I'm so lazy that when I write a draft these days, I just write the first rough draft, edit it the second time, and the next thing I do is just submit it to a mentor because they already know what I need to do. And so why waste my time trying to figure everything out when they could be pointing me directly like, oh, this is exactly what you need to do because you sit down on a document working on it and you have written everything and you look at it again, it's like you come back and it's like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Maybe I should phrase it this way. And you do that again and you feel
Oh
good.
yeah.
And the next day you open the document again, it's like it still doesn't make sense. And so instead of talking myself out of reason, I just submit it to mentors and learning to build that relationship. Also, it's another I think it's another expectation of graduate school, and that's why they create room or opportunities for networking and yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, what you pointed out recently, I was doing my grant proposal review out, and one of them had mentioned that, well, like you can keep working on the document for 10 years. Like there's always something to improve on.
Yeah.
So the best thing is just for you to get it out there and like let it start going. And then you can work on it as it goes. Like instead of you to just sit down every day and keep looking at this document
Yeah,
and be like,
and
oh,
this goes back to the point of not being afraid to fail, right? Because then you
yeah,
go and then you learn from your experience and you iterate again and then you do the same thing and then somebody makes a correction, you repeat the cycle and eventually you come up with something much more presentable than you would if you had just sat down in the same spot.
oh yeah, because I remember there was a time I did a presentation. It was a like whole full presentation.
Yeah.
Like everything was just all over the place, and it was like a was a like so we have research groups within the department. So it was a research group meeting, and
Mm.
then they corrected like so many things, and I changed it. And when I presented that thing again, most of them were like that cannot be the presentation you wanted to
Yeah.
present. And, like this was way better than what even my friend came to me like that was the first time you presented that everything was connecting. And that made me feel like really, really happy because I was like, okay, okay, I am happy this thing worked. Like it's eventually working. Bola, uh, can you hear us?
Okay, you guys, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So what do you have to say about research? Because I think it's a bit different. You are in engineering. I don't know what you guys do there. Yeah. MATLAB and something. I feel like all engineers today use MATLAB. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Yeah, so what I can say about research is just I think one of the most important things I've learned about research when it comes to graduate school is that the success of your PhD hang totally on the kind of advisor you work with. Yeah, I think that's just the best thing. No matter how sweet the research interest is, if you have a crazy advisor, you know, research topics is so nice when you are reading the topic, advanced treatment, the mechanism or psychology of the back of the brain, all this kind of stuff. But when you started doing the major research, when you're in the lab, you are the only one know what you are facing and how the research is going to. So I changed the lab when I got here just because of the advisor is 0% supportive. Yeah. He doesn't care about whether you don't know, he doesn't care. You just want to bring result. And one thing you need to understand about yourself before you invest yourself in research is just that you need to like understand what is your own personal way of learning, right? So the way I learn now is different from the way energy learn, different from the way Christian learn, right? And that determines your character, that determines the kind of person you are going to like stay with. So if you're the kind of person that you always want people to open the door before you go in your way of learning, right? You have to work with an advisor that's very good when it comes to mentorship, right? Someone that can say, "Oh, I'm having this issue. Okay, do come to my office, let's talk. Oh, I'm having this problem. Okay, okay, let me find a way, like let's resolve this issue." But if you're the kind of person that either they open the door for you, they don't open the door for you, you can always force the door open yourself, which means you can go to extra mile by learning things yourself. So yeah. So which means you can still work with some advice so that they don't care about your life. They don't care about, they just want to bring results. So it just depends on how you learn things because depression is 100% plus S real in graduate school, right? You are trying to do a lot of things and it's not comfort. And the people you are working with, they are not trying to be supportive. You might lose yourself to depression. So to avoid that, the first thing to understand is just that. After that, let me see. So after that, I think if you have a very good advisor, you have a very good lab culture. In my lab, we are almost like 12, and everybody work on individual projects. I think currently now we have like 4 postdoc in my lab. Then I think like 7 PhD. I think 1 master's or 2 masters. I can't remember. Yeah. So in my lab, even though in our lab we all work on individual projects, what I'm working on, nobody's working on it, only me alone. But trust me, the way the culture of the lab is just that if this person has an issue, everybody must find a way to support him to solve it. Do you get the point?
Yeah,
So
I think that's a good thing.
yeah, so in our lab, my lab, we don't do anything like group meeting. No, it's individual meeting. I've already asked one of my supervisor one day, why individual? He said that doesn't want to prioritize any student because once someone is working, another person is not really working. So you now feel under prayer. No, let me deal with everybody individually. So I think that's what I've enjoyed in my life. One thing I've learned is just that the most important thing in life is, sorry, in research is that advisor is very, very big factor when you are contributing a lab and the lab culture, my lab is 100% diverse. In my lab, we have Brazilian in my lab, someone from UK, someone from Saudi Arabia, someone from India, China. We are 3 from Africa. So it's very diverse. So nobody is having this okay, I'm dominating on or something like that because we are so diverse. So everybody talks, everybody laughs. Sometimes you can come to my lab, you find food on the lab table. You eat free, anybody can eat.
That's the advantage of being in engineering.
Yeah.
You can't eat. You can't even. Food cannot pass the door.
Yeah, no, because you guys are working with something sensitive now. In my lab, I'm working with concrete. No, so our lab is just from our lab office in my
Okay.
home. So lab office is just office. We can
Oh,
eat
okay. So
the lab is different.
that's where you guys find food.
Yeah, it's just
Oh, okay.
and the pizza is from a student, a postdoc. I just come here and say, let me bring pizza for these people, or let me cook for this one and bring it. Yeah, something like that.
But
So
I
I
mean,
think
I think you mentioned another big fact of, I mean, what people should probably be preparing themselves for when they want to come into grad school is make sure you're just a good person. You are someone that can relate to people. You are someone that
yeah,
can fit into good environment.
yeah,
Because that also play a factor in how grad school, like how you would respond to grad school. Something that came to mind that I know we don't get to talk about, and even from like a Nigerian perspective till now, is how to have LD competitions among your classmates, among your friends. Like, For example, because in grad school, you will most likely be competing for the same awards as your classmates. And you don't want to necessarily have them as enemies because you're competing against them, or because you guys are applying for the same fellowships, or you're applying for the same award. That was something that I think no one really taught me. Let me put it that way. Uh, because even as an undergrad or like in Nigeria, you're not really competing with your friend for anything. It's just that everybody will have their own CGPA. You know where your CGPA falls at the end of the semester. You cannot compete for unless
I think when it comes to competition, I think that's one thing I find. Yeah, I don't really compete with people generally, but I don't really, yeah.
I mean I think
But
that's
So
but
you.
Nigeria, we
I
have a
Bola,
agree
very
with
big,
the
we have a very big issue in Nigeria, the way we are being trained when it comes to competition mindset, when we are growing up. We are,
Bola, chill.
yeah,
Energy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say like the cultural aspect which you just highlighted seem to in the when I've thought about this thing plays significant role that we think about because of the limited resources we have. When we compete on a zero-sum basis. I have it
Yeah.
all and you have it not. There is
Yeah.
never the win-win because well the truth is even among your siblings there's only limited quantity of food. So there is never a win-win
Yeah.
even among your friends. Just a limited quantity of resources. And so we approach almost every aspect of our life with this limited mindset, this resource limited mindset, so that we can't picture a world in which both two people win. So I think that contributes to it. I feel like just getting that out since you mentioned cultural aspect.
Oh yeah, it's a big factor because I think I have a friend here where we are rotating in the same lab and we kind of knew at the end of the day it would have to be just one of us that would end up in the lab. But then we had to do everything together. And I remember there was a point where his own stuff would work and mine wouldn't. And this was the period where we were still doing rotation. And rotation is literally like a test date. Like the supervisor is just trying you out. It's like a tryout, basically. Uh, and I remember I was feeling so sad. Like I wanted to start distancing myself from him. It was not the bad luck that was affecting me, but there was this cultural part of me that was feeling like, I'm on this guy is doing this. The one they will pick is not me.
Yeah, you can associate your enemy.
Yeah, you
Like
get that kind
that.
of mindset.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what came. Something just snapped me out of it. Like, no, like this guy is not your enemy. This guy can actually help you get better. Like, talk to him, learn how he's doing his things, and you can actually get better by just associating with him. And
yeah,
sincerely, that was what happened. And guess what happened? I was not the one that eventually now stayed in the lab. He eventually went somewhere else, like go and work with another person. I eventually stayed in the lab uh, at the end of the day. So sometimes I don't know how we can just maybe quickly because we have to round up. So quickly in few
I
sentences,
I
you can
think
talk about that.
I think the best thing you can just do, the best thing you can just do in life is just that. Like I said before energy talk, you just, I think we have this issue. I think it's just based on culture. And if you notice that we have very, I don't know, classes, we have very less competition in this place because nobody sees each other results. Nobody cares. Your result is between your porter, yourself, and the graduate coordinator of the school. Compared to Nigeria, everything is being pasted. So the best student in mathematics come outside. The
Yeah.
best student in social study come outside. And that thing, you don't tell yourself, oh, I'm the second now. Next year, I want to be the first. And even if you find an opportunity for other people to like pass, you might hold it to yourself just because you want to be the first. So this thing has given us this kind of mentality when it comes to like, guy, if you want to be the best, you need to find a way to like be. So sometimes we bring that kind of thing to like graduate school, right? Someone did something today. I felt so bad about it. And and I told myself, okay, fine, that this does not make any sense to me. Like, why are we doing like this as a Nigerian? Like, when you have an opportunity that people should become better, and this opportunity, telling people will not stop you from becoming better, right? But after you have gotten the stuff, you now tell, oh my guy, I got this thing. So I think the person got where I replied to my DM. You know, told me that, Bola, what happened? What's the problem? And I told the guy, I taught you this thing for free, right? Then when you see an information about it, tell others. Not that when you now make the profit, you're not telling me that, oh, I just say, okay. So I think it's just a particular mindset of how we are being wired, in terms of connection. So the best way we can do to resolve this kind of issue is just that have a very good conversation about people, like not destructive, like the one that's healthy. The one that's healthy means that I know this thing. Energy is suffering from this thing, or if I tell energy this thing is going to make energy better in what it's doing, I will tell energy. Simple.
I
I'm going
know
to
I know Michael is a big cultural person, so I'll let him talk about Nigerian culture and I think the influence on like competition.
Well,
Or
honestly,
African. I don't even think it's a Nigerian problem. I think it's African.
I think, see, I think as human beings, we have a part of our brain that, keeps us in the competition for you to survive. So it's a survival instinct. So for me, I wouldn't say it's a Nigerian thing. I think giving awards, the real intent is to encourage other people to do well, right? But behaviorally, some people take it the bad way. I want to go by all means, to make sure they they hurt people or they become that person. Envy. So competition is not exactly a bad thing, but when it starts, I had an experience just yesterday in my lab, right? So my boss likes to whine people. Like if he's telling me from he's going to he will whine you with information. So so as a second year student, I scored 96 in one exam, right? So my boss knows. But I have another person like in my lab who is now like a first year student. This person is like American, white, and she has not been doing so well. But because and this person is not even hiding it, she would tell me it's like when I tell her, oh, like when she scores, low, maybe like 92, it's like no, oh, I scored 92. And I said, oh, that's okay. Like, you are good. Like, all you have to do is like score a 90, right? Because if you score below 90, you fall out. So score a 90. So, I mean, you are doing very well. Try to encourage her. She will tell me it's bad for her ego. So she wasn't hiding it, right? She's telling me, "Oh, it's bad for my ego." Like, at
Ego,
least for my
ego
pride.
finish you.
That she wants to score above that. That I mean, with that, she was able to, like, she told me she scored a 94, and then I mean in the final grade, like, she had a 96, the same score, and she announced this in the lab meeting that, oh, I'm sorry to I'm sorry to announce this to you, Michael, I scored a 96. I wasn't like, I'm not in the same level, like, I mean, I'm not in the same year with you, but just because of maybe the praises I received from that particular score, she wants to like mash up. That might be a good thing, psychologically for her to make her do better. So I don't take it those such things. I mean, it doesn't do anything to my grade. I had a grade, years ago, right? But people react to things. What I'm saying is people react to things in different ways and based on their own feelings and trainings. Some things are bad. You can do these things in better ways. For me, competition keeps me going. So if there's no if I if there's no existence of any competition, I might relax a little bit, right? So I think it's good. Healthy competition is good, but people have to also always recheck,
Yeah, I think it's the
what's the motive?
rechecking.
Yeah, what's the motive? Why am I doing this? Why do I want to keep myself? Right. But it keeps competition generally keeps us going. And I think it's natural. But with religious influences or cultural influences, it now, varies of what it now varies depending on the motive. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
energy.
just very quickly. I think competition is healthy. Like, it's the spark that keeps my flame burning sometimes, or even just somebody picking up on my emotion or doing something that annoys me, or trying to fix or trying to rewrite a story. That also drives me. What I think is not healthy is the zero-sum game people play. It's like, for me to win, you must fail. And
Yeah.
and if you win, it means I have failed. And so that is a mindset I think people need to get out of, because it's possible for two people to win. And the result might not always be the way you define winning, but I don't feel like somebody has to fail for you to win. The world is so resource abundant, and life is so big that there's just a lot of ways to win. And I just piggyback very quickly to the point with that lady about, people try to attach their identity to a measurable metric of success, and that is not healthy, because when you don't meet those targets, then it tells off on you, and then everybody around you, can tell that something is wrong. So now I'm only a good person if I get first class. I'm only worth
Yeah.
any form of recognition if I get to this point, and then what happens when that does not happen? And so I guess this is like a totally different conversation for, hopefully we can meet again and have this conversation about,
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it's
competition is
probably,
healthy, just not zero-sum game. Yeah.
I think it relates to what I was saying earlier about my CGPA, that because I didn't have what I was expecting, I
Yeah.
felt bad about it. I was like 4.50. They just put me there so that it doesn't look like I didn't get it.
Let my people
And
go.
yeah, like that. You don't kind of let, and that was how I felt about the CGPA. Even though I mean it was good, but I was like, nah. Like that time in my head it was like I carried last among first class students. That was the way I felt about it. Which is not a great feeling. Like it was not a great feeling. I felt like they were my friends that had lower CGPA than I did, that were feeling proud of their CGPA than I was. And that really affected me in terms of how I was portraying myself out there. And for example, someone might start with score, but then if they don't check themselves, like you said, you're checking yourself motive, it might graduate into, oh, this guy's experiment is working, mine is not working. It might graduate to his
Serious
experiment got us,
envy.
yeah. It might
Yeah.
start moving towards that level of, oh, he's already publishing two papers, I've not gotten any. And those kind of things would cripple into your character
Yeah.
to the point that it would even transcend beyond what started it and move into that. I don't even know why we got onto this topic, but it's something that I think it's really interesting to talk
I mean,
about.
everyone needs, there's no way you work, in a lab or, when it comes to research or in a public organization like in the industry where you would have to work with people. So all of these
Yeah.
things will come up and you need to address them, right?
Oh yeah.
So
I think
yeah,
the
they
good thing
definitely
at least
should talk.
about most of the things we even talk about transcend beyond academics. And I think that's something that I can say confidently that even if you work in the industry, some of the points we've mentioned really, really transcend beyond your academics. You can apply them to any area of life. Thank you
Let me drop a
guys.
gist before you go, Christian.
Yeah, okay. We take one
Okay.
gist. We take one gist and then we round up.
So, but this is like just to emphasize what we've been saying. Recently,
Yeah.
during our journal club, we invited someone that transcended from being an assistant professor, into Pfizer, and then now he works with Johnson and Johnson's, and he was telling us how things. We asked him questions about how people are being retained, in their organization, and he was telling us it's not just about what you know. That every year people they have a rubric, like a scoring rubric, where there are papers that are sent out to all everybody that works in the organization, and people score you. So people in your team score you, right? So you don't, of course, you don't know, but everybody scores everybody. So if you go beyond the baseline, for even if you are productive, but character-wise, nobody wants to work with you. Trust me, you are out of the system. And it's a private organization, so they need you to both be able to work with other people to keep them sane and also be productive. Right. So these things are very important in both ways, both your intellect and also your ability to manage people, teamwork.
So thank you everyone that tuned in today. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you to our speakers, Energy. I know we're actually going to be having you for a couple more days moving forward now, so you're not going to be the newest speaker moving forward again. Michael, thank you for always showing up. Bola, thank you for always showing up. It's good to have you guys. I know it's still midday for most of us, so it's not. I'm sure we are still enjoying our day as it goes on. For all our viewers from Nigeria, from every other part of the world, UK, Rwanda, thank you for coming, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time again. And I think I've been enjoying this show personally. Just the fact that this is the first time I'm bringing up my friends to have public discussions of all our private conversations.
Yeah. I mean, no, this is like saying we're totally different. I've been thinking of the idea of setting up a productivity conversation where I interview people and just ask them what makes them, how are they able to stand out in the way they do. And this has, just opened my
Opens
mind
your
to a
mind
lot
to
of
it
other
and
questions.
you say,
Yeah.
I've challenged you like
And I'm
that.
thinking, it's something we can hopefully talk about and see how we can learn from people. Just like you mentioned, talking with your mentor, I mean, talking with somebody invited from an industry to just chat and have a gist about, we can have something like that for graduate students in the US, and where weekly people tune in to just listen and chat. But yeah, thank you so much, guys. It's been
Yeah,
fun having
thank
this
you.
conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so